There's so much going on Memorial Day weekend. That's what I was worried about. This is one of them. This is one of the things to do this weekend. Let's get her mic'd up.
Yes, yes, yes. I love it. I have to tell them how important this is. They just like archive it, and I'm gonna take a picture of it and try to, and then we'll say, take care of this. This is very important.
Thank you, thank you. Well, I'm excited to hear your talk.
Oh, in September? I am scared to death.
Oh, I know.
But we're gonna do it as a team, probably a conversation.
Yeah, that'll be nice.
Yeah, I went to the one last Wednesday. They have the woman is going to be charging the Women's History Museum in Washington, D.C. It's going to take 12 years to build it, so I don't even know if I'll be here.
Yeah, that's right. I feel the same way.
Let's get you mic'd up here.
Okay.
All right. You can go under or over your shoulder, whatever you think. Yeah.
Over my shoulder.
You can go behind and over your shoulder.
Let's do that.
Really and truly, I'm here.
Hi, how are you?
Trying to be twins.
Like that?
That's perfect.
That's gonna work.
And then
See that bag back there?
Come on. Yes, I saw that.
Yeah.
put
Okay.
that on your belt somewhere.
Okay. Not a belt. Oh, my pants
Yeah,
stick.
there you go. This might be a little tight.
All right, I'll get it.
You don't have
Jeez.
to worry about it falling off, huh?
No, I guess not.
Is it on there?
Yeah,
You
there.
can bend
Got it.
out.
I got it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, let me go back there and do a mic check.
All right. Let's see. Okay, good. There's one chair. Hello, there's one chair up here. One chair back there. Two chairs available, one back here and one up here. And another in the middle there. It's going? Okay, okay. Hello. I'm Virginia.
Hi, Meredith.
Meredith. Nice to meet you. Okay. Are you from the Cuchadas area?
I just moved here a year ago.
Oh, good. Okay. Well, you'll learn some history.
Do you have like where I could use a credit card for your books or just cash?
Just check and cash. I'm not set up electronically. Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. You know, the books, the museum store has the books
Museum.
behind us.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and they will take cards.
Because I
Okay.
don't have cash.
Okay, that's okay.
But I'm writing a book and I decided to put one of my characters over here.
Ah.
So this is going to really
Okay.
help my research.
Okay, sounds good. Nice to see you. Hello. Hello. Nice you could come. Hi.
Gloria?
Hi, Gloria. Nice to meet you. Okay. No, just one. Just one.
I know she's going to sit one.
Just one over there. One chair.
I know.
Okay.
She's going to sit
Yes. Yeah? It's yours. I'm sorry. Okay. Okay, you want to introduce me?
I do.
Okay, let's get going then.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning. We're going to do something very non-traditional with talking about traditions. We usually don't start until 7 minutes after whatever we say we're going to start at because that's La Vida time. But we've got so much going on today. We're going to get started. I'm Sandy Dolak, and I'm frazzled today because I'm twins. I need to be over at the community center, and I need to be here, and now I'm here. So anyway, this whole event, we're calling it Puentes, Bridges of the Past, Ways to the Future, and I've been working on it for months and months and months. It came out of, first I met Ron Sandoval and Sylvia Brandel, who are the most wonderful people, and Sylvia has all these pictures, historic Huerfano County pictures. Ron says he's an amateur historian, an amateur genealogist. So anyway, I saw what they were doing, and I was so excited about what they were doing and how they were doing it. And I grew up in Pueblo, 4th generation Colorado, moved to Huerfano County 24 years ago, and I found my home. Okay, Norberto, what did I find? Where's Norberto? Yes. I don't say it right. I roll too many R's, not enough R's. But this is a place where I found my authentic self. And that's what Norberto will be speaking at noon, because it's so neat. And I so love it here. I love living in the shadow of the mountains. I love the people. So we started this whole project, and then John Van Kuren, that's here from Huerfano County Historic Society,
Hi, John.
they offered a little $2,000 grant to do something to bring the history back to the people. So Sylvia and Ron and I cooked up this whole idea that, you know what we could do? What if we did a pictorial display? We arbitrarily chose the number of 25. We actually have 33, and we probably could have 133. But of founding families, founding Hispano families in Huerfano County. It's not all the families. It's the ones that we had pictures for, we're able to gather pictures for. Pictures are from Stay tuned, we hope to do that this fall.
How's that?
We've got the community center reserved
All right,
over
don't bump into it.
Walsenburg for,
Okay.
I'm gonna have to tell you, October, it's a Saturday in October, the 14th, maybe, I'll look it up. But anyway, hopefully we're gonna do cold camps on that one. That gives me
Yeah.
4 months.
My father was a coal miner.
Yeah, there's so many.
Yeah.
And you know, we're losing that history. Because you know stories, Norberto knows stories, the stories that I hear about the coal miners and the immigrants that came to this area. It's just amazing, the resiliency. I moved to Huerfano County very much by choice, and actually the poverty is one of the things that invited me here, because there was so much that could be done and so much that people had been treated lesser than.
So what school did you go to in Pueblo?
Central.
You were a Wildcat, Sandy, I could tell.
So anyway, I gotta run back over to the community center, but I'll be in and out. Please talk to me, please share. Thank you all for being here.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you. Thank
Oh,
you.
one more thing. Huh?
Do you still have?
Oh, the pig died about 3 weeks ago. And this came in the mail. I don't know who it came from. It's a little sterling silver pig. And it's by the same lady, this bracelet that I've worn every day for 10 years. It's by the same artist, so somebody that knew me well. And I got to share this story of small town USA. I do this honoring program every month that I choose one honored elder and one honored younger to go to the county commissioner meeting. And the county commissioners, they gave me money to do this if I asked. And so we honor our older and our elder, and did this last week. It was Bill Clough, that was a doctor around here forever, and Willow Clark, a young girl that's off to college, and John Galusha, that's the chairman of the county commissioners, said, "Don't sit down yet." I said, "Okay, I won't sit down yet." He got up and he said, "In behalf of the county commissioners, we want this to be part of the official record that the Board of County Commissioners of Huerfano County are offering condolences for little Smokey, your pig." He was a wonderful ambassador in our community. Everybody loved him. We loved him. And then they gave me a sympathy card that all 3 of them had signed. Does that tell you anything?
Yeah.
We loved our pig. But thank you for asking. Anything else? Thank you all.
Okay. Thank you. Well, I'm Virginia Sanchez, and I'm very honored to be here today to speak to you. Sandy touched on something that about each of us have a story, you know, the coal miner stories. You each have a story, you should write about it, okay? And if you're not a good writer, you practice writing. So just write, even in a journal, just write. Right. Okay. Well, today I'm going to go through some historical documents. I'll show you some pages from the ledger, the Sedavaca ledger that John had told me about from the Historical Society. And then we're going to take a look at one receipt, several maps. We're going to talk about wills. We're going to talk about military records. And we're going to discuss what the information is in those records and what they really tell us. It's Veterans Day, and I just want to recognize, those who never made it back home. I will, as I mentioned, I'm going to be talking about some wills and some soldiers who did make it back home. drawn by Bernardo Miera y Pacheco. This guy wore many hats. He was a cartographer, a mathematician, a distinguished soldier at the Presidio of Santa Fe. He was an officer of the engineering corps and captain, and he carved an altar screen, and I did not check to see where that screen was at. I tend to think that it said, or was at the Confraternity Church in Santa Fe, but I really don't know, so I'm sorry about that. But anyway, by this date, 1779, the Spanish then knew about southern Colorado. So down here, this is not the whole map. Let me see if yes, I did. Okay, so this is the upper portion of the map. We have here Rio de los Conejos. Okay, the Conejos River. Down here we have the Cerro de San Antonio, the San Antonio Mountains. Okay, then we have the Sangre de Cristo area. We've got the Rio Culebra. Can you hear me? Yeah. Rio Culebra River. And way up here we have Rio de Napeste, or Napesta. I've seen it as two different spellings. That is the Arkansas River. Oh. This area was known by 1779 and before. The next military document that I had here is a filiación, and it is a military enlistment. Antonio Javier Madrid is the son of Cristobal Madrid. All right, now Antonio says that he enlisted, that he enlisted in his father's place. And many sons did do that. His father was a Presidio soldier and died at the Presidio of Santa Fe. And what's interesting about this filiación is that it lists the age, of course, the physical characteristics, and he also talks about what his duties are. So he enlisted as a Puera soldier. Okay, so he's wearing a leather jacket, and I'll go through that in a minute. The interesting about the filiación is this guy is 5 feet 1 inch tall. I'm 5 feet 1 inch tall. He was a little guy. He had dark hair, dark eyes, no beard. Let's see, what else would they say? And on these filiaciones, they would also mention if you had a beard, if it was a full beard, if you had any moles, and the type of nose that you had. So if you had a big nose or an aquiline nose, or so that's kind of interesting. Now, during this Spanish period, Spain's northern territory included most of the United States that was west of the Mississippi, Louisiana, and Mexico. Spain and its colonies in the Americas played an important role by providing military support, loans, and gifts of cash to the American colonies. And we're going to talk about that a little bit more. Now, we have a question about this.
Well, actually, it's on your last slide. You mentioned that the Arkansas had a different name,
Napeste.
What is it?
Napeste.
Napeste. Who named that? What kind of language is that? Is that French or what? Is it
No.
native?
Now what? Now what?
No, I would think it's no.
The Aztec language.
So,
And in fact,
do you have any history about when that was changed and who named it and
No,
that kind
no.
of thing?
The French came in and they named it Purgatoire. Okay? So, and that became Purgatory.
And that was for the Arkansas.
Don't mind the man behind the curtain. Okay. I must not have this magic touch. Okay, all right. So this is the Presidio soldier's uniform if he was in the Cuera unit. Cuera meaning the leather jacket. Now, Cueras in California well, let me back up. Cueras were usually longer, so they covered your thigh. But by the time, I think it's just after Antonio Javier had enlisted, the rules had changed for the military, and they wanted a faster unit to be able to go out. So they shortened the cuera, and they put him on horses, and they gave him a pistol as well as a rifle. And we're going to go through this. But anyway, this is his cuera. And in Spanish, this says that he has the cuera de seven pieces of leather. So it was thick, and it was heavy. And I don't have the weight, but I think there was, you know, with all of the equipment that they put on the horse would get tired running after a while. So they made sure that these volante soldiers, the flying soldiers, had an extra mount and extra provisions. So here on this list, then, we also have a carabina, which is right there, his rifle, a bolsa para llevar agua and food, okay, provisions. Then his pistolas are right here, his pistola. Then his botas and espuelas, boot and spurs. And then he's got a cartucho, and he carries cartucheros. So a cartucho is his belt, and cartucheros are then his bullets, or if he's got a musket, the musket balls. So I thought you'd like to see that. This is the will of Antonio Javier. And to his son, he leaves his father's rifles, a Spanish military uniform consisting of a hat, an old blue woolen cape, used woolen waistcoat, so we know that, you know, the cuera was passed down, and military garments. This is a bad picture, but yesterday I saw something online, and it showed a blue cape. I'm not sure that Presidio soldiers also wore a blue uniform. Have you heard anything like that? No? Okay. Let me go back to my notes because I don't want to miss anything.
What's the date on that will?
The will is, I'm sorry, 1813. 1813. And in his will, he leaves $1, un peso, for all of, he says, un peso from my meager possessions to be given for each required donation. Okay, now this was at a time when the Presidio soldiers weren't even paid in cash, they were paid in goods from the land. So this is really telling. He owned a 4-room house and several pieces of land. He listed what his wife had brought to their marriage, and then, of course, his military equipment here. Now, I mentioned that, you know, that Spain had helped the American colonies, and they did so. And this is new news to a lot of people, but this has been going on. We're being recognized for these donations now. All right, so this is the royal decree from the King of Spain, and he's saying everybody in the Spanish kingdom, so that means the Americas, that means North America, South America, and Central America, everybody's going to donate some things for the American colonies. The Presidio soldiers and the Pueblo Indians gave 2 pesos. And you think about how much that was in today's money, you know? Okay, so in all, Spain contributed cannon, tents, grenades, muskets, bayonets, uniforms, musket balls, gunpowder. The cattle came from Texas, and they were actually floated up the river, well, they were boated up the river, the Mississippi River, okay, to get to Washington, General Washington's area. Uniforms were donated, medicine, blankets, money, and money and loans. Now, all of this was donated covertly. So they went through France to get these items to the American colonies. So France, Lafayette got the credit, yeah, for it, but these actually came from Spain. And there's a letter from Thomas Jefferson, I believe, that talks about the donations from Spain, and it's pretty neat history. Now, lineage societies such as the Daughters of the American Revolution and the Sons of the American Revolution are honoring these patriots if they're, it's a lineage society, so if you're a descendant, if your line follows all the way through and you go up to the presidial soldier and you meet their requirements date-wise, then you can apply and obtain membership in the Sons of the American Revolution and the Daughters of the American Revolution. And there is another society, I think it's called the Granaderos de, it's out of California. And then now Bautista Anza, let me see if I can go back here a minute.
Virginia,
Yeah,
on that screen about the will, what was his wife's name?
I'm sorry, I don't remember.
Okay.
Okay, all right. Down here is a signature of Juan Bautista de Anza. And then I showed you this map.
The Checo map?
Yeah, let me see if I can go back. Well, anyway, Juan Bautista de Anza led the presidial soldiers. I think there was a company of 300 Indian allies and the Spanish force that came all the way up into Colorado near Pueblo, and they had a vicious battle there. The interesting thing is that because they were bringing so many troops on horses, and of course horse kick up dust, you need to go be covert about how you're going to find whom you want to battle with. So by the light of the full moon, they traveled as they got closer to the area. So that's a pretty interesting. Now, Juan Bautista de Anza is the one who led that battle, and he's the one that signed these filiaciones. The interesting thing that I learned at a De Anza event was that Juan Bautista de Anza, the date that the filiación was signed, if I can get back there, anyway, Juan Bautista de Anza wasn't at the Presidio during that date. So what he did was he signed those filiaciones later. I should get back to what I'm talking about here. Okay. How many didn't know about the help to the American colonies? Okay. Yeah, did not. How many did not know about help to the American colonies? Okay. All right. Now, I told you that I was going to cover some maps and some information. At the top, we have a long lot. This is called the long lot system. And this is the system of irrigation system used by the Hispanos in the Southwest. And then we have the Platte system that was used by the Americans who came out after 1848, okay? Or even before. But what I wanted to mention here is that there's an area here, and there's a little area here, and an area here that's not getting water. They don't get water. I mean, they don't live near water, so they can't get it. Because the acequia is what is running through here. That's the acequia. And the river runs, I think, probably down this way. So what they've done is they've diverted water from the river so that they can use this acequia. This acequia is the Madrid ditch in Cucharas. Cucharas, that is out northeast on Highway 10. Okay, so this long lot pattern here ensures that everybody gets some water. This Platte system does not. Which one works in the Southwest? This one. Which one do we have in the Southwest? We're getting more to this. So, and water is considered very sacred. We thank the beings for the water that we get. We try to keep it clean so that our crops grow nourishingly. And so I just wanted to mention that part. Here's a baptismal entry. And this one is interesting because there's not a priest around. So this person, and he didn't sign his name, he records the births of his children. El día de julio de 1854 nació mi hijo Domingo Baca. Okay, now this came from the Sidabaca journal that the Heritage Center now has. All right, and what he's done is he's recorded the date that Estefanita Delgado, el día 12 de enero, all right? So that's an interesting piece of interest of history. So then that person would take that record, the record that he wrote, and give it to the priest, and the priest could then record when he does the baptism. All right, Domingo Cedevaca y Hermanos Compañía. This is the ledger of that company, and in this ledger is a 1878 partido agreement. A partido agreement is basically a shares agreement, where in this instance, Jose Miguel Lujan received from Domingo Baca of the Hermanos Company 100 two-year-old sheep, and the sheep are on loan and to be returned to Baca and Baca by October. All right, so it's April, and he's given him only a few months for the sheep to have little lambs. Okay, this is another page from the ledger. And I thought this was interesting because down here on the February 1890 ledger, we have Orden A. Levy, Alexander Levy from Walsenburg. And I'm sure you all know his name. He was a friend of Fred Walson up here. Okay, so what I think is going on is that this company was able to provide things that the Walson and Levy stores could not. And they may have been a certain type of pistol, they may have been some leather goods. I'm not sure, unfortunately, the records don't tell us. Okay, up here on page 102, Nestor Lobato, this is his bill, so to speak. So he buys a pistol for $18. Okay, there's an order from Fred Walson for $10. En Del Norte, there's some dinero, so something exchanged for $5. Here in Conejos, money exchanged for $2.50. So this company could have been providing goods to Conejos or from Conejos. In this case, it's to Conejos. Una aguja de hacer, I forgot what this was. Oh, enafe. And that, enafe, what's enafe? I can't remember. Enafe. I think so, crochet, thank you. So here's a needle to crochet, a crochet hook. Oh. Yeah, crochet hook. 40 cents. All right. En La Loma Parda, that's in New Mexico near Fort Union, something exchanged for $2.50. And then, I'm not sure about this one. Galenta. Oh, yes, gallon de tobacco. Okay, and El Fuerte. So, El Fuerte, Los Fuertes, he's talking about Los Fuertes in southern Colorado, okay? Un galón de tobacco. But I'm not sure about galón there. 25 cents. And then the next one, En El Del Norte, tobacco for 75 cents.
Would that be bread? A galleta?
No, it says tobacco. Tobacco. Yeah. So it's an interesting ledger. It's interesting because the clerk must have got really bored at some time, and I'll show you at the very end what he's done. But there are some of these records that just have a lot of scribbles on them. In honor of Memorial Day, then, this next one is Jose Rafael Sotero Chacon. He is a Major Rafael. He was the son of Lieutenant Albino Chacon, and Albino Chacon was a senator in the Taos County, representing Taos County in the New Mexico territorial legislature, and he also served in the campaign against the Texas invasion. Now, Rafael enlisted in 1855. He becomes the first sergeant in Saran St. Vrain's Battalion of Volunteers. Okay, so the New Mexico Volunteers, St. Vrain's Battalion, and he's the first sergeant. Now, St. Vrain, as you know, received the Vigil, part of the Vigil St. Vrain land grant, okay? All right, and now St. Vrain had mills throughout northern New Mexico to take charge of the flour industry that went to Fort Union. And the interesting about mills, the Spanish mill used a horizontal wheel. St. Vrain's mill is a roller mill, okay? And now the Spanish horizontal wheels moved counterclockwise. The English horizontal wheels moved clockwise. So I thought that was pretty interesting just to see that difference in the horizontal mills. Okay, so this group of New Mexico Territorial Volunteers was organized to help the regular U.S. troops in their pursuit of the raiding indigenous. And then Rafael Chacon, this is a guy who more needs to be written about. He is kind of like the Roy Benavides, and I'll talk about Roy a little bit more, but those two are just tremendous characters. Now, Rafael also served in the United States Army, and in 1861, he and the 1st Regiment of the New Mexico Volunteers were sworn into service at Fort Union. Now, Fort Garland was also a key place, okay? Recruits coming from Colorado were going to Fort Garland en route to Fort Union to enlist. So there was a lot of troop movement going around. Now, you considered the war started in 1861. Colorado became a territory of the United States in 1861. By 1862, Arizona territory is created out of New Mexico territory. In the early times of New Mexico spread out west to California. So there was no Nevada, there was no Arizona, okay? Now, Chacon and the other responders of the 1st Regiment did not speak English, and that created some problems, obviously, with a military brigade. But Rafael Chacon was also a good fighter, and he knew where to put his people, and he knew how to do it. And fighting indigenous warring nations is different than fighting your the Texans that are coming in during the Civil War. And so I just wanted to mention that. But there was a lot of prejudice during the U.S. Civil War here. Because they didn't speak English, because they didn't have a formal uniform, and because their arms were antiquated. You know, they were not treated very well. So Rafael overcame many obstacles during his military career, and then he moved from northern New Mexico into Trinidad, and he led a fabulous career there. And again, this is one guy that I think anybody want to take on a historical writing project, he's the guy. This next one is Capitan Jose Julian Espinosa. So he's from Southern Colorado, and he's raised and outfitted his own company. So raised and outfitted, that means he's providing the horses, he's providing the horse gear, and he's providing lots of, even probably food for his men. Okay, now these are friends and relatives. Now his early duties in the Army was to escort government wagons between Fort Union and Albuquerque. Now later on, his company becomes, well, he's got the horses, so he becomes a mounted infantry. And then later, the unit that he's in, the American forces, the U.S. forces, the Union forces need his horses. So they take the horses and they make Captain Rafael and his friends and relatives, I'll call them, infantry. And, you know, they made an agreement that he would be reimbursed for those, for that change, for the change in his horses going to the other mounted troops. And he never got it. And the interesting thing, too, is, and I mentioned in my book, Pleas and Petitions, he was shortchanged when the U.S. government he had billed the U.S. government for supplies he gave to the Conejos Indian Agency. And I was looking at the records and I was adding it up and I thought, no, I think he got changed shortchanged like about $30. So this poor guy, you know, he's given the government a lot and I think needs to be recognized too. Now his company was part of the Union Regiment commanded by Colonel Kit Carson. Isn't that interesting? Isn't that exciting to know? I mean, we know Kit Carson was just a fantastic guy, but, you know. Okay, and they participated in the battles at Valverde and Glorieta Pass. Okay. Private Joe P. Martinez, World War II, Medal of Honor. His statue is at Denver in front of the Capitol. And he was awarded posthumously after he died. He served in the Aleutian Islands, Alaska. Okay, Alaska is already the United States. This battle happened on United States soil. Okay? Hector Garcia, Dr. Hector Garcia. I'm sorry, I keep running into that. Hector was a toddler when his family came into the United States from Mexico. And although he faced prejudice in the Texas schools, he was able to get his medical degree. During World War II, he served in Africa in the Medical Corps. And then he settled back, after the war, he went back to Texas. And he started his medical practice. And during his medical practice, he saw that a lot of vets were coming home, Hispano vets were coming home, ready to get the benefits of the GI Bill, but they couldn't because banks were only loaning them money for a house in red-lined areas. That means you could only, if you were of a different color than white, you only got money for a house in a certain area, a segregated area. And this redlining still affects us today.
Yes, oh, it does.
Yes. Okay. So Garcia saw this, and he actually founded the American GI Forum. How many service veterans do we have here today? One. Thank you. Thank you. So, okay, now, Private Felix Longoria. He died in the Philippines, and his wife is trying to get his body back to Texas and get him buried. It takes 7 years. Okay, once she receives the body, she had problems with the funeral home, okay, because they don't take Mexicans. Now, he's a United States citizen. But, so, again, it was the American GI Forum who helped him get buried, and he is now buried in Arlington Cemetery. Okay. Mm-hmm.
Not in his hometown.
No, not in his hometown. Mm-mm. Now, Hector, as I mentioned, he was in his medical practice in Texas, and he also helped to eliminate the poll tax in Texas. Now, a poll tax means that you can only vote if you own property. So if you're a rico, you own property, then you're the only one who can vote. So he's very instrumental. This guy, very instrumental. We couldn't have done the war without the Navajo Code Talkers. Yeah. And they provided just an incredible service under incredible difficulties. Raul Perez Benavides, Roy Benavides. How many people have heard of him? One. Okay. He received the Medal of Honor. He is a Vietnam veteran from Texas. So I hope and pray this works.
Virginia, he was in Pueblo one time, Roy Benavides.
Oh, that's neat. Well, this is supposed to play his, let me see what I can do. Excuse me. Okay, that's not working. Anyway, I was going to play a recording of the speech he gave. All right. Roy Benavides received, I think, like 11 different wounds in Vietnam during one battle. Okay, so first he got hit somewhere in the head, then he got hit in the leg, and all this time he's going back and he's trying to save his men. So he's carrying him back, and he is determined. He keeps going out there. Well, anyway, he gets to the chopper, and he's just bleeding profusely. He's got all of these wounds, and his eyes are caked with blood. So he can't see. He can't see. He's lost so much blood that when they take him out of the helicopter, it's a mess. They get him into the medical camp, and the doctor looks at him, and he thinks he's dead. You know, he's not breathing. There's no movement. Okay, and his intestines are out. So he's, you know, I mean, it's a bloody mess. But anyway, in this speech, he says, I had to do something. I had to do something. I had to let this doctor know that I was alive. And he said the first thing he did was just spit. Yeah, and that saved him from dying. You know? And he has spoken to cadets. He's spoken everywhere. This guy is just awesome. If you get a chance, let me see if I can. All right, here it is. This is the link I tried to get to. It's https://YouTube youtu.be/HAML capital RLXOU0U9E. And you can hear the speech there. So I'll leave that up just for a little while, right here.
Is he still alive?
Yes.
About how old is he?
Let's see. Yeah, he'd be 80s.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm sorry you can't see that. Okay, this is a scribbling that I was telling you about that's on that Baca, Domingo C. de Baca and Hermanos Company ledger. And there were many pages like this. So, you know, and it was kind of difficult to go through and figure what was going on. And I kept looking at this diagram, and I kept looking at it, and I said, I've seen that somewhere. I've seen it somewhere. And my dad had told me about this ancient game that they used to play as boys in northern New Mexico. And this is what is called the pitaria. And my husband, Tony Hernandez, who I could not do this without, has a copy of the game for you. So when you have a chance, with your the person you're sitting next to, use a pen and a pencil. One use a pencil, one use a pen, and you can play this game. The instructions are on there for you. But it's called pitaria. And this is an ancient game, and it was brought into the New World. Many different countries use this game. They just call it different things, and it's in different shapes, maybe. Checkers, okay? Chinese checkers. Okay. So that is what I wanted to share with you today, and I'll take some questions. The term cuera that you use for the... Cuera. I grew up hearing the term cuero, but when my... Cuero is skin. Or flesh. Yes, okay. Cuera is, I guess, leather. Is that where the term came from? Leather, yeah. Yeah. And then cartucho were bullets. I remember let's see. Yeah, cartucho. I had it backward, yeah. Yeah. That's how they used to call it, bullets. Yeah, cartucho. Yeah, cartuchera was I call it the bandolero. Thank you. Yes?
Regina, where did you find the wills?
The what?
The wills. Did you,
In the... yes, a microfilm. The Denver Public Library has Sanam 1 and 2.
Because I noticed the public library has a lot of most people don't really know about them. They're hidden away. But they are.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, Sanam 1 and 2, Sanam being Spanish Archives of New Mexico. There's Reel 1 and Reel 2. Those are available on Ancestry.com. Yeah. Okay, Carmen?
Have any idea where I could do more research on the Arkansas and the naming of the Arkansas? Because I'm really interested in, if it was a Nahuatl name, way before it was the Arkansas, it would be nice to have a marker in Pueblo talking about that.
That would be nice. That would be nice. Norberto, do you have any ideas? Okay. Locally, start with the Colorado Historical Society, the History Colorado Center. Try the Denver Public Library.
Colorado Historical Society, too.
Okay.
Territorial Daughters.
Okay. Okay. And then if you're in Santa Fe, make an appointment at the, for Zimmerman Library at the university, you don't need an appointment. But if you do any research in the Chavez Library, the Fray Angelico Chavez Library, you do need an appointment. Now, the archives in Santa Fe, if you take a look at their archives, and if you take a look at the Colorado archives, New Mexico is up here with all those records, Hispanic records, okay? The Colorado archives, of course, we didn't save anything. So we have very limited records to go by. But if you make an appointment, we have to make an appointment to see the archives in New Mexico, okay? They haven't opened up yet. Let's see. I'll give a little plug and then I'll take some more questions, okay? This is my book on cucharas, and I showed you a plat map. This is a copy of that plat map, and it will show Highway 10 that takes you right into Cucharas, and I'm talking about the one northeast of town. What I've done here is I wanted to figure out where everybody lived. So I went to the BLM website, and I found their land patents, how many acres they had, and what year they patented their land. So if you are from Cucharas, you might be interested in looking at this map and finding your ancestor there. In the book, Forgotten Cuchareños of the Lower Valley, Cucharas, I actually started this book because my mother-in-law, Tony, my husband Tony's mother, had given me an acequia ledger. And I looked at everybody who irrigated their lands around this area, and I just was fascinated by that book. And then I started talking to some people who willingly shared me all kinds of stories and all kinds of pictures, and so that's that book. This one sells for $15. Pleas and Petitions is my newest book, and this one discusses the territorial period of Colorado. So in 1861, 7,000 Nuevo Mexicanos woke up and they were already in Colorado. No vote of the people. Congress just said, we're going to take this part and put it in Colorado territory. Now, this was difficult for these people, and I talk about the difficulties in this book. So this one is for $25, and the maps, I have photocopies of them here for $5. So I'll take some questions, please.
Virginia,
Yes.
in that book that you have, Cucharenas Forgotten, on page 56, there's my grandfather, great-grandfather, Sisto Martinez.
Sisto Martinez,
That was
56.
captured with the Indians, and in Abiquiu.
In Abiquiu, right.
And then they
Yeah.
migrated.
And
Went with Kit Carson
yeah,
to Fort Summers as
Yeah.
an interpreter.
okay, Kit Carson, okay.
56.
Now, in this book, I do talk about the enslavement of indigenous nations here in southern Colorado. And this is just a brief introduction, but if you're interested in knowing about who some of the indigenous were that were enslaved in southern Colorado by Anglo and Hispano people, you may want to see the book Nación Genízara, and chapter 8 is my chapter. And I've got tables and names and ages and dates. Now, a lot of the information comes from Lafayette Head, who was the Conejos Indian agent. So after the Civil War, the government wanted to know how many Indians were being enslaved. This was during the Civil War, after emancipation, okay? All right, so Lafayette Head said to the governor, I'm going to do my listing, and it's become this famous list now, and it is being the Fort Garland Museum has an exhibit that you can go see. So if you've got some time today, run over there. But anyway, he started this list, and I expanded on it, and that's what's in that chapter.
Virginia, in your book, Pleas and Petitions, where you talk about the Hispanic legislatures and all the prejudice that they encountered. And I see that happening today in Washington, where all the minority legislatures are being taken off of committees. So it's happening even today.
Yeah, let me explain that a little bit, okay? All right, so southern Colorado, Conejos and Costilla County are able to send a representative to the territorial legislature. They are Jose Victor Garcia and Jesus Maria Varela. Garcia speaks minimal English. Varela speaks only Spanish. So they get to the legislature, and there's no interpreter there for them. So for 3 days, all these bills are being passed by these mining communities, okay? And the mining community affected southern Colorado. But these bills are being passed around them, and then they ask for a translated copy of the rules of the House. So basically, those are the parliamentary procedure, how you present a bill, this and that. They said, no, we don't have any money in the territory treasure. So they ask again the following year, and they don't get it. And then in 1864, when they ask, the territorial secretary, I don't remember, Weld, I think it is, actually tells them, no, they can't do a translation of that because it does not affect, that translation doesn't go out to the public. The public doesn't need it. So even though these legislators need it, they weren't willing to do that. Now, the laws were not translated into English. The English laws were not translated into Spanish until 1864. and they had been asking for them since that time. 2 years after they had been in the territory of Colorado, the people wanted out. They wanted to be returned with their land back to New Mexico. Oh, I should have brought this. So they kept trying petitions, more and more petitions to try to get returned to New Mexico. Congress wouldn't see it. And finally, it was an effort that was given up because the railroad was coming in, okay? And that meant supposedly money for everybody. The interesting thing is in 1979, there's an act that is passed in the New Mexico state legislature asking for the return of Conejos and Costilla counties. And that bill is actually signed by the legislators. It's a fantastic piece. I posted it on Facebook, but I think I'm going to get that out a little bit more. But it is, I just found that just fascinating. Think about that, though. You wake up one morning and your whole world has changed. The whole world has changed around you. Okay, more questions?
I just have on your new book, how much area does that cover? From where to where, Cuchareño?
Costilla and Conejos.
Okay,
Very little on Huerfano.
okay.
I'm trying to think. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
What is the name of that, the river from which the irrigation ditches were
The Cucharas,
at Cucharas? Yeah.
Cucharas River.
It's the Cucharas River.
Mm-hmm.
There's a Santa Clara that goes past there too.
Yeah, but the Madrid ditch got its water from the Cucharas. And you think about river flow. Back then there was plenty of water, right? Okay, but with population, it's less and less and less. And now, because of that, there is no Cucharas. They can't get water out there.
No, it's right.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so take care of your water.
Virginia, I was doing the tourist thing around La Vida this morning, and I came across the mule ditch. They said that was an old irrigation ditch. Do you know about that one?
No, I don't.
Oh,
No.
it's put in that nature walk.
Yeah, and I actually went to the state engineer's sub-office in Pueblo to get information on the Madrid ditch. So it's a good resource for researchers.
That was going to be my question. Where do you get these acequia ledgers?
Yeah,
So that's
yeah.
one place?
Mm-hmm. If it's located in southern Colorado in a certain water district, take a look at the map and just do, what would it be? Water districts, Colorado.
Okay,
And
and
that-
that was the state engineers?
State Engineer's Office website. Okay. I think my time is up because Norberto, are you on at 11:30? 12. Okay. Okay. All right. Yes.
Raphael Chacon did write a really excellent autobiography. I think it's called Legacy of Honor.
Yes.
It's out of print now.
Yes.
But, you can still get it
Yes.
online, but it's expensive, but it's
Yeah.
really worth it.
Yeah, it is a good book. Now, I understand somebody is, I don't know the name, but somebody is taking it on to kind of rewrite that book so that it's a little bit organized a little bit better, date-wise and whatnot. But anyway, he lists the companies and the names of the soldiers in some of those pages. So it is a real good book, real good.
What's the name?
Legacy of Honor.
Virginia,
Yes.
you know that outfit, the uniform that Chacon is wearing in that picture? And in the book, there's a picture of him holding that sword.
Yeah.
Are you familiar with that picture?
You know, I should have asked Denise Lovato, who is a descendant,
Well,
and she would know.
on when that uniform that he's wearing, I recently saw that on the Antiques Roadshow. And that uniform with the sword, it was in still good condition, $1,800.
That same sword? Wow.
With that uniform and the sword.
Why couldn't we ask History Colorado to buy it for us?
Not his sword, not his uniform.
It wasn't his
No,
uniform, but
okay.
it was one
Yeah.
Except for, that one didn't have the buttons on the sleeves that he's got. And my husband is military, and he said that probably denotes some rank.
Now remember, when he served in the New Mexico Volunteers, he wasn't wearing this uniform. He only got this uniform when he enlisted into the United States Forces. Okay.
He does list all the companies. That's where I found my grandpa Ramon Cordova, you know, company A, B, C, D.
Yeah,
And then if you go to the archives in Santa Fe, and they have the records.
right.
The records there.
There's this really neat book. It's about this thick, and it's called A Civil War History. A Civil War History of the New Mexico Volunteers.
Militia and volunteers.
Okay, okay.
I read that.
Yeah, and anyway, unfortunately, the author talks about what's happening in Conejos at the time, 1863, and he mentions the Espinosas. Okay, we won't talk about that today, but it's the wrong story about the Espinosas. And I got a chance to talk with him, and he said, "Oh, I'm so sorry I'm getting this information now. The book is at the printer." So I just missed it just like that. But anyway, it's a fantastic book, and it'll take you through the history of the Civil War in New Mexico. Okay?
Rafael Chacon and his wife did settle in Trinidad. They raised their family in Trinidad, and they're buried in Trinidad.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd like to see more about him in Trinidad. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, because I did the tourist thing in Trinidad, toward the top Baca House and all
Yeah.
that. Nothing
Yeah.
mentioned about Rafael Chacon. But it's still there.
Another one is Jesus Maria Garcia. Garcia. Jesus Maria Garcia. He was big with the city then too. And there's the Baca Ditch. I got to see the Baca Ditch and the ledgers of the Baca Ditch and the ledger for the Madrid Ditch are the same dates. But what a difference. Because the Baca Ditch had more Anglos in it, it's printed in English. Because this one, the Madrid Ditch, mostly Hispano, it's printed in Spanish. And the interesting thing is this ditch was still going on into the 1930s. And these people still recorded their information in Spanish. And that tells you about querencia, in which Norberto is going to talk about. Querencia for the language, querencia for the place, querencia for traditions, and which is very important to us, okay? Thank you. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Credit card?
I'm sorry?
Can I use credit card for the books?
I don't have, no.
No.
No. If you're willing to spend extra $5, I'll mail you a copy. Take my address. Okay? So just make it out for $30 instead of $25.
So you're saying send a check to you? Well, what, I want a home.
Okay. All right.
So instead of 40, how much?
35 for both.
35 for both? I thought you said it was an extra $5.
I'm sorry. Did I add this wrong then?
40.
That's 45 for all. Oh. This Rose is your sister?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you, Virginia. And did tax or anything?
No. There you go. Thank you. Okay. Okay.
So my name is